judge anybody, right? And here in heaven, Jesus is saying that there is going to be a person that judges people, and the person that one of the person that judges people is called the Queen of the South. And this Queen of the South, Jesus mentions, will rise up, he says, and will judge people, okay, and will condemn the people. That makes you think that who has a right to do this? Who has a right to condemn and judge people? But certainly, this person who is called the Queen of the South, okay, has that right to judge and condemn people in heaven. And Jesus speaks of this. Wondering, do we have that right? If you go to heaven, and if there is a different level of status in heaven, God can choose you, Hannah, or Richard, or Madeline, or my wife, or Ernest, and say, I need you to come up here and judge with me. To all these people that are going to be judged, okay? To all the people that dies or that is in the end will be judged. And Jesus asks you, okay? And says personally to you, and says, I need you to come here with me and judge all these people, and you have the right to condemn them. That is a pretty high, recognition. Okay, it's like somebody is asking you and say you have the right, you have the recognition to do what we need to do here. It's like like being a rocket scientist. And lately, I've been reading about space shuttles, and I've been reading about space, Apollo, the spaceship. And I got really curious about the rocket engine, jet engine, and it was a very complex, spectacular machine that they created for this thousands of ton weight of rocket to shoot up, right, into the space. Imagine the gravity that's in there, but it takes that much power to shoot up the rocket into space. And to make that rocket engine, it takes a magnificent brain person to do this. So you got to be almost like a brain surgeon to be a rocket scientist. It's so complex, right? And let's say you have that right to say, tell me how to build this rocket this rocket jet, this engine. There's no way in the world I'd be qualified to do that. Okay, that is so complex. That's so much, intelligence involved. And just like this, Jesus has asked this person, who is the Queen of the South, to have the right to elevate that person to say, I need you to come up here and judge these people. And you're kind of wondering, what makes that person to do this? What makes a person, for someone like you or me, to say, I need you to come in here with as a rocket scientist to figure out how to build this engine? God is almost like doing the same thing for you and me. That you may have you may be the person, that you may not know it right now, but you may be that person that Jesus sees that you are the qualified person who has a right to sit next to Jesus and to judge and to condemn people. And what are those qualifications? Well, the qualification says right here. For she came, what did she do? She came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and indeed a greater than Solomon is here. So what did she do? She came to Solomon and to hear his wisdom. It's like all of us here, we're so embedded with so much technology and so many comfort that we have in our home. Just getting out of the bed to go to church in the morning is a struggle. I found myself doing that today, honestly. And why am I feeling so down? Why do I feel like I want to go back to my bed and sleep more? And why do I feel so lazy about going to church? The whole time that I was coming here this morning, I had to keep telling myself and saying, I'm not going for fun. I'm not going for friends. I'm not going for food. I'm going there to worship the Lord. I keep telling myself over and over, this is not a fun place to go to. That's not what we're looking for. Yes, it is fun, but that's not the whole primary purpose that we go to church. That's not the whole primary purpose that I go to church. I'm going to church right now, not just because of minister, okay? Not just because someone that I had to give a message, but I'm going because I need to worship the Lord. That's the kind of attitude all of us needs to have, right? But our life is so good and so comfortable with so many convenient things that are around us. We seek for other things to go to church other than to worship the Lord. For some reason, for hundreds of years, people that was before us, they did not go to church because out of a pleasure, out of other type of enjoyment. They found the need to go to church. And during those times, they had to walk, or they had to take a horse, or they had to get a wagon, right? To go to church. And it is more of a hassle. I mean, it was kind of a little warm today. So what did I do? I turned the air conditioning on. And I felt this cool air, right? And that made it convenient for me to come to church. Well, in those days, in the hundreds of years ago, they didn't have any of those things. And yet they came. They came to church not for anything else, but they found the need. They found the need to worship the Lord. It's a place where they come to church. There is a place where they come to, what do we do? To pray, submit themselves to the Lord of God Almighty, and to hear the gospel, to be encouraged, and to repent of their sin, right? And to renew themselves spiritually. They found this need in the older days when they came to church. Today in our time, what do? We do not seem to seek the Lord anymore. We don't come to church for the right reason. This person here was from the Queen of the South. She rose up, right? And she got into some type of big, I guess like a parade, right? And she made her out of her ways to come out of her country to seek after the wisdom of God. Not just particular Solomon, because she knew, right? This was something very, very different. In the older days, they didn't have a TV. They didn't have any kind of communications like we do now. And yet the word spread to her country. I'm sure maybe weeks or months of traveling, the words got around to the whole world about this spectacular man who is considered to be Solomon that they were hearing about. For some reason, she needed to hear. She needed to come out of her area and prepare this great preparation to come and hear King Solomon's voice. His ideas, his wisdom, what makes him so special, so different that she made her way to come to see Solomon. Same thing for all of us here. Some of us drive very, very far away. Some of us drive only 10 miles away, right? And yet when we come, what are we coming for? God is not looking at the distance. I look at your distance and go, wow, that is a lot of driving you're doing, right? We know like Ernest is doing. But what God is looking at is your heart and saying, why are you coming? Well, certainly God was looking at Queen of the South, seeing her desire. And you will find out today, in 1 Kings in chapter 10, you will find out what elevated, what made the Queen of the South a rightful person to come to Jesus one day and to sit next to him, giving her the right to sit next to Jesus, to condemn and judge people. What did she do? And God is looking at each one of us here to the same thing. I remember when I first became a Christian, nobody asked me to go to church. I didn't even know what the church was. But I accepted Jesus Christ, the way that you guys all know, the most spectacular, most amazing way. I just can't believe with the story that I give to people, and yet people don't want to believe in God. Because I didn't go to church. I didn't go ask anybody. I just prayed, right? I just prayed on my own without anybody hearing and knowing. And God responded to me and brought this great miracle that day that we always talked about, right? Right after this, I just felt it in my heart without anybody telling me that I needed to go to church. And there was only one person I know in my school who I just met that year goes to church. In fact, I met him yesterday. He came, he was my high school friend. He had to come to Cyprus for his son's soccer game. And he texts me and says, hey, I'm over here in your area. You want to come, you want to come and see me? So I just I took my bike. I skipped my lunch. Right? And I rode my bike and I went and talked to him. Okay? It was that guy that I know who was going to church, and his church was 3 miles away from where I live. He didn't really invite me, but I just know that he was going to the church. So what did I do? I made myself to go there. Sometimes I didn't have a car, so I would walk over there. I would ride my bikes over there. God is like totally thrilled. You can see it from the scripture we're going to be talking about here today. That when you make the effort to go to church, He honors that. I think more so now in our time, with all the technology, with all the comfort that we have, when you get out of the house in the morning, on Sunday morning, put your clothes on, says, you know what, I'd rather sleep, I could watch it through the internet, I could watch it through the TV, and yet I'm going to go and seek the Lord with everything I got, with all of my heart. God honors this, because God honored this Queen of the South. Who did this? She's one of the comments that she made here, that she came from the ends of the earth. That she came to see Solomon, to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Remember, in those days, they didn't have a church. They didn't have what we have today. So this is the only place that she could get it from. She went out her ways to get there. He says like this, ends of the earth. She must be far, far away. She recognized what she was doing. When you get up in the morning, when you come to church, you know what? God rewards you for this. This is a clear statement of it. Well, here in 1 Kings chapter 10, in fact, the whole chapter of this, halfway of the chapter, it talks about what Queen of South did. That gives her the honor to sit next to Jesus, to judge and condemn people. Well, you will find out the character of hers, her ideas, her suffering, her struggle that was inside of her, that was at that moment. She was a desperate person. And you know what else? She had this integrity. She didn't want to just believe in something because it was a convenient thing for her. She wanted to believe for real. She wanted to be the real thing, what she was believing in. Well, first of all here, chapter 10, verse 1 through 2. She had a major issue. And I can remembering myself, I had a major issue. I don't know about each one of you here, okay? But I had a major issue because I was so desperate, right? And I came that close to committing suicide. But I was afraid to die because I don't want to go to hell. So many people out there in our world have that major issue. Do you have that issue? Well, it says this. 1 Kings 10, 1 through 2. Now when the Queen of Sheba, is also the Queen of South, heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord. It wasn't just the famous name that she was concerned about. What was she also was that she was concerned about? Was the name of the Lord. She heard that Solomon was famous because of God. When people look at each one of you here today, when you are liked and loved by so many people that are around you, you need to remember why. Do they love you because you're just a nice person? Or because they see that you're very different because of the Lord Jesus Christ? When people start to figuring it out, and there are many people that are out there who are very, very desperate, who are without any hope, who are without any purpose in their life. But when they see you, somebody who's different, and they heard about you, say, you know what? I heard a richer is always a good, happy person because he believes in Jesus Christ. Not because you go to KOG or not because you heard about me, but because you know Jesus Christ. Knowing Jesus Christ, knowing God, knowing the Bible is more, that's where the reward comes in. People are not care about what church you go to or what pastor you listen to. What they're caring about is the sincere people. This is what I found out. They are always looking for a righteous, sincere believer of God, especially in our time today. People are not caring about church anymore because there are so many scandals with pastors. What they're looking for is true God. And you know what? Many times they don't have anything to go with other than you. There is a friend that I know who's always talking and questioning me all the time to see if I truly believe in my Lord. Not that I have other focuses, other purposes in what I'm doing in the ministry, but I am doing it for the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what people are looking at. And that's what people are looking at you here singing. This lady here, Queen of Sheba, okay, she was so concerned about finding God. She wanted to know about the name of the Lord. So maybe the popularity and fame got her attention about Solomon, but more so, she was concerned about the name of the Lord. She wanted to know about God. We have said this to you guys before, that we are all made to worship the Lord, right? Well, she had the same thing. Throughout generation after generation, people are always looking for true God. Sincerely, I did myself too. I was always looking for someone who knows God sincerely in their heart. Even to this day, I am looking for the people who are fired up for the Lord, who knows God with everything they have. I am looking for a true believers myself too. I'm looking for true believers that gather together and worshiping. And you know what? I think I found the one here right now today. That you guys have really changed my perception, because I was starting to lose hope. I knew there were some people out there that knows God and that loves God, that are gathering together for the Lord. Well, people are out there seeking for the truth, looking for the people that are concerned with the Lord. And furthermore, it says that she came to test him with hard questions. And that happens a lot. I get that all the time. Okay, I have a person that always questioning me, always testing me, always checking me out, always seeing if I'm doing what I'm doing for the real love of the Lord. There are people out there, same thing for you, that are always around you, testing you. They're trying to trap you with the worldly stuff, money, right? Or alcohol, or whatever they all do. They're trying to test you. They know now, they say they know that you're a believer, but now they're testing you. And every once in a while, when they want to talk to you, right? They question you. That's what she was doing. She had this very, very hard questions that she wanted to test about her concern about the Lord. So she came to Jerusalem. She didn't just come with nothing. She came with a big, gigantic festival. Okay? Into Jerusalem with a great routine, which is staff, with camels that bore spices, very much gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. I could see this when I remember just myself too, before I met God, before He came to my life, I had so many stuff in my heart. And even to this day, when I have so many junk in my heart, what do I do now? I know where to go because I found God. But before, man, I was struggling. Many of the children, many of the teenagers or the young people that you find, you seem to see a lot of violence, a lot of hardship in a lot of the people's lives right now, especially the young people, right? A lot of this mass shooting. Why is this all happening? Okay, I didn't see this happening when I was growing up, but this violence is so out of control now. Right? And the teachers are scared to teach. In fact, my friend Mike, he's a school teacher. He taught for over 20 years elementary level, and he told me last year he taught junior high. And he was teaching 7th and 8th graders at that time just for 1 year. And he said he had to quit. He had went back to elementary. And he tells me this. I didn't even ask him why. He says, Yoon Hee, I was scared to death to teach junior high. They're bigger than me, they're very violent, so I was so scared I had to go back to the elementary, he says. Why is that happening? Because a lot of the young people now, and not just young people, but a lot of people have that stuff in their heart. And they don't know where to get that answer to. Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? Is there a hope? the more and more we are walking away from the Lord, the more and more we're walking away from the Bible, the more and more we walk away from God, people are being filled with stuff in their heart that they don't know where to get up. This, just like this lady here, Queen of Sheba, she has so many things that was in her heart, mainly because she was seeking for the true God. Somewhere, someplace, she's saying, please help me. Oh, I could clearly see I was in that position to myself. I don't know about each one of you here today. But man, I had that stuff in my heart where I was like, please help me. Please come. Somebody help me. Help me. I was crying out and there was nobody out there. Finally, in the end, I cried out to the Lord. And He actually came and saved my life. Even to this day, I keep remembering me. When we were praying right there, I was praying, I was saying to the Lord, does this really work? This prayer thing really works? I was telling myself this. Then I try to remember when I was 16 years old, how I prayed. He answered my prayer. Then I tell myself, this works. Because He worked for me before. Even He worked for me without anybody knowing or hearing about it. I did it quietly in secret. He heard me. Of course, now He definitely hears what I'm saying to you, even to this day. So you have to believe. You have to trust. But there are so many people out there, so many stuff in her heart. She's Queen of Sheba, this Queen of South. She had things in her heart that was very, very frustrating. And when she finally spoke to Solomon, remember how Solomon got what his wisdom and all the stuff he's got from the Lord, right? So she went to him and asked him all these questions. And here in 1 Kings 10, 3 and 4, he tells us how Solomon responded to her questioning. I could imagine she had so many questions, but nobody was able to fulfill or answer her question. But here comes Solomon with all the answers to her questions. Sincerely, everyone, the more you read the Bible, the less questions you have about life. I had so many questions, but when I accepted Christ in my life, man, about 80% were gone. And even to this day, when I have a question, I read the Bible. The more you study the Bible, the less question you have about the world. Well, she came to Solomon, and he tells us that Solomon was able to answer all her questions. Keep it in mind, everyone. They didn't have a Bible in those days. They didn't have anywhere to reference their questions to. So God uses Solomon to give all the answers that she needed to know. So he says here, so Solomon answered all her questions. Would it be nice if you're the person that has all the questions? And the more you read the Bible, the more you get closer to the Lord, the more answers that you have to the meaning of life. Okay. The problem that happens is not other people that you might know some of the answers, but a lot of people out there don't want to hear it sometimes. So that's where the problem comes. But when they open up their heart, their mind to trust and believe what the Bible says, they would have all the answers to the life. In fact, the Bible gives you all the stuff that's in that you need to know in there. There was nothing so difficult for the king that he could not explain it to her. And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built, the food on his table, the sitting of his servants, the service of his waitress, and their apparel, his cupbearers and his entreating, by which he went up to the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. It means that this Queen of Sheba was exhausted. She finally found everything that she wanted to know right there. I could see in the scriptures how frustrating she was throughout her whole life. She had the wealth, she had the fame, she had the recognition for what she was doing in her own country, and you could clearly see that she was a very successful person, right? And yet she was not fulfilled. She needed to have the answers to what she was doing in this world. And she finally found it when she sought after God. When she heard what Solomon was saying, I could imagine right now, oh, that's what I wanted to hear. That makes sense. I could see what's going on. She hears all this and she sees it all. How often when people hear you talk what you do, and you know what they also want to do? They want to see it also. They will also want to see in each one of our lives that you are truly real or not. So when they hear, they also want to see it. What kind of things are you showing to the people about God? There's so many desperate people out there. There's so many people out there that are looking for answers to life. And they're looking at each one of you. They want to hear you. They also want to see what you do. Clearly, there are people out there that are doing it. And this is what Queen of Sheba was doing. She was finally relieved from all the things that she wanted to know. Well, after many gifts that she was offering it to Solomon, because all the things she brought with her, and this is what she says. This is the amazing conversion that you will find. And she said to the king, "It was a true report which I heard in my own land about your words and your wisdom." Did you know that people are talking about you? And that people have heard about you? You know, I was talking to my friend Mike yesterday, and his wife, I haven't talked to her for a long time. And she said to me was this, "I heard that you're a pastor now."
Oh.
I go, "Oh, you heard it from Mike." Yes, well, she says this, "You are a sheriff, and I know all your stories, because I kept up with them. Okay, about my crisis and my tragedy and my changes in my career and things that happened and what I'm doing." And you know what she said? She says, "I heard of your story and it's a great testimony. People should listen to your story. How is it that you are once a sheriff and becoming a pastor? That's totally unthinkable. Doesn't match." She said, "I heard of you." And she actually saw me, and I'm just the whole time praising the Lord with her. And guess what? I was looking around. I was speaking to my wife, my friend's wife, and all around her there was other parents that was watching the soccer game, was listening to the same thing. And not just for her, I was telling her so that everybody else could hear it too. Says it has been a miracle. I told her straight out. I told her with everybody that I'm hoping that everybody could hear, right? Saying that I did not choose to be in ministry. I did not choose to become a pastor. God has taken me to the different path of my life to be where I am today. And she was like this, "Wow, this is such an awesome story." You know, and the game was over. I know that all the parents are they're busy looking at something, but they were all listening, right? And when the game was over, the son came to us, and I gave the son a hug. And the mother, my friend's wife, puts her arms around her son and tells him about me at that moment. This is the guy that became a sheriff and became a pastor now. And he just kept on looking at me, you know. And she was giving him a testimony. She was giving him a story about how God can work in people's lives. People have heard of your story, the same thing. You might not know, but people are hearing. I didn't know all the things that she knew. I had no idea. But I discovered at that moment that she had it in her heart, and she was eager to ask me, eager to find out more what was happening in my life. So people hear your stories, and they're always listening because people are desperate. And this is what she says furthermore. "However, I did not believe the words until I came and saw with my own eyes." How often people does not believe until they actually see? Just like the way my friend's wife did. She probably believed, but she actually saw me. Now she really believes. She's more convinced now than before. And indeed, the half was not told me, because I gave her the whole, because my friend Mike probably didn't give her the whole story. So I kind of filled in all the areas that he did not fill it in. And praising the Lord. Okay. "Your wisdom and prosperity exceeds the fame of which I heard. Happy are your men and happy are your dear servants who stand continually before you and you hear your wisdom." You know what? When your friends are not around you, sees what kind of husband, what kind of wife you have, they're probably saying, "You know what? Happy is your wife. Happy is your husband. That they're with you because you are such a be touched by a person." People are jealous of your life, okay? Because of who you are and what you're believing in. You clearly see she was jealous of what Solomon had and all the people that are around Solomon. She's hoping that she could have the same wisdom, same guidance for the people, same God that Solomon was having also. Blessed be the Lord your God, who delighted in you, setting you on the throne of Israel, because the Lord has loved Israel. God loves each one of you forever. Therefore, he made you king to do justice and righteousness. He has placed you in your life because he loves all of you here today. And people were seeing this. She just sees what was happening. This is the conversion that she has witnessed. This is what made her, okay? This is what made her to be in a position with Jesus, later in time in heaven, to judge and to condemn people. So she gives all her gift, but in return, Solomon gives her more stuff back to her. Isn't it like when you sacrifice yourself to God? Your sacrifice of driving to be here, especially like Ernest is doing, and what you're giving to the church and what you're offering to the church, the time that you give to God, the time, especially the time, right? We love our time, our own personal time. When you sacrifice your time, your money, your effort to come to pray, like Wednesday nights and also on Sunday afternoons, when you make that effort to give God back, and you can clearly remember this, your money is not the important thing here, but it's your heart, okay? What you give to the Lord, right? He gives it back to you like 1,000 times more back, just like the way Solomon did it. She gives him back all the stuff that she gives. She brought it from her own country. In return, this is the amazing part. This is how God works. Solomon gives her back more than what she brought. I can just imagine, it could be like a caravan of tons of stuff, but yet Solomon's like, I already got a whole bunch of stuff. God has blessed me so much more. Here, I'll keep what you gave me, but I'm going to give you more than what you gave me. And that's how God works. If you are filled with the Lord, and you see people just loving the Lord and giving you all their things that they do, they give it back. You're supposed to give it back what they give. What Solomon does it here. This is really impressed me. 1 Kings 10:13, the end of this discussion, this whole event, Solomon does this. Now King Solomon gave the queen of Sheba all she desired, whatever she asked, besides what Solomon had given her according to the royal generosity. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. So this is how naturally God works, right? When you give God your time, your effort, your driving, whatever it is that you're doing, that you give to the Lord, he gives it back to you like many, many more times more back. Clearly I could see that happening in my life. And I could see it clearly happening in your life. Since I've been here, God is just, I'm so excited to see how God is blessing each one of your life all the time. Your promotions, your position, your home, right? Things just are happening because one thing that God is looking at in all of us here is your sincereness. Are you really real in seeking after me? Because he knows, okay? He knows what you're putting in. He knows how hard it is, sometimes the effort that is required for you to serve the Lord. And when you do this, when you come to seek the Lord with all that you give, just like the way this Queen of Sheba did, and just like the way Solomon returned it back to her, God will do the same thing for each one of you here. And you may be the one. You may just be the one person that God may ask you and say, Hannah, come sit here next to me and I need you to judge and condemn these people with me. Wow! Isn't that going to be awesome? And this is the lesson. This is the lesson that we all need to keep in our heart. When we go through each single day and each single week, when we seek the Lord first, when you go out of your way to seek the Lord, it's not a waste at all, because he sees it. God sees it. God knows exactly what you're doing, what you're going through. It may seem foolish to the people that are out there because we are spending an hour and a half praying. It is completely foolish to the people that are out there, but God sees it completely differently. He sees and he honors what you do, just like the way Queen of Sheba did. She had no idea. She just heard about it, but she was eager to know the truth. She wanted to know about God. In return, she got elevated to be set next to Jesus to judge and condemn people. I'm not really into judging and condemning people, okay? All right, that's not my focus. Is just having that recognition from the Lord is what I'm looking for. That God sees me, that I am doing this, what I'm doing here today, not for any other reason, but to worship the Lord, to seek His reality. Let's all pray.